yours too.
I always appreciate these moments we get to spend together in the outdoors. Just, this grand machine, this grand planet that we live on. Oftentimes, it makes me reflect. It makes me think about things. One of the things that I was thinking about a lot lately, wanted to see how you felt about it.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, because you believe in the afterlife, do you focus all your energy on what's to come? Some people completely sacrifice their own happiness in life in general. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, Sean. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the afterlife. I focus on the here and now. I try to take care of the people around me the best I can.
But what we do here, this is all temporary.
Yeah.
And
with eternal consequences.
We have 60, 70, at most 100 years of this. And that's such a short time compared to forever. You may have a great horse now, but that horse is only going to last you, I don't know how long a horse lives, David. 10 years?
I would have to say that horse's life and or death is equidistant
equidistant
to another horse's life or death.
Right. I had one horse, and I bought a second horse, and I was like, where could I put these two horses so that they each had equal amounts of space? And I called my friend, and he came over, and he was like, make sure your horses are always equidistant from each other. And I was like, well, so like 3 meters? And he was like, meters?
Horses.
I don't know what a meter is. He was like, about 3 feet. And I was like, oh.
Not hands? Because that's how we measure horses. Hands.
Getting back to the topic. I feel like if my concern was what's to come, that I wouldn't be focused on the here and the now. If the consequences of poor performance here and now could mean that for an infinite amount of time after I die, that I would be punished for that. I feel like you're setting yourself up for an eternity of regret. Of like, oh shit. Like when I was in school, I didn't want to do anything. And I was, let's say, high school for 4 years. Like I didn't do anything that I was supposed to do. And my life now most likely suffers from that. So I can look back at that and be like, man, that was only 4 years and it's affecting the rest of my life. I wish I would have put in that effort for those 4 years for what was to come. But it sounds like you're saying, no, just drop out of school and live your life to the fullest and focus on the now. Don't worry about what's to come.
Well, now, hold on a second.
You're doing really good at keeping the voice.
That's not what I said. I said I focus on today and not living for the moment, but living for the people around me. And I know that if I do my level best to show love, kindness to people, strangers or friends, that in the end, you'll come out okay. I think I've mentioned once before to you that I'm not even positive I'm going to make it to heaven. because of some mistakes I've made. But that doesn't mean that I can't treat my fellow man and woman with some kindness and some love, because that's what I was called to do anyway.
So you feel like you already let the horse out of the barn, and now you can't get the horse back in the barn.
Whether he's extras in the barn or not.
But you can spend the rest of your life doing your best to get him back in.
Well, it's not just about one horse, it's about the whole herd.
I'm gonna need some clarification on that metaphor.
I'm not just concerned about one person. I'm concerned about everybody within my circle of influence. That bird just touched me with its wing.
Is that a bird?
Yeah, right there.
I thought it was a bat.
Also, as a side note, not that you're asking, we're told as believers not to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough concerns for itself. For me to worry about beyond tomorrow would make it even worse.
I believe that the person who asked this question to me assumed that maybe you did place more emphasis on the afterlife than you actually do. Just because you believe in God and you're a pious man, you do not live concerning yourself with what's going to happen. You focus on doing the best that you can right now. And you kind of just have faith that the rest will take care of itself.
That's correct. There are too many things outside my control for me to be worried about all the things outside my control.
What would you say to the people that do limit their experience here on Earth because of the fear of consequences in the future?
It shouldn't be a fear of consequences. It should be a fear of what's happening inside your soul right now.
It's fine. We'll just let them mosey on. Do you think that people should focus on happiness in the moment over future ramifications? Or do you think that life should be dictated by what's to come?
Sean, do you spend a lot of time at the gym?
No, sir.
No?
No.
Well, would you say that every moment you spent...
That one, did you get it? Hold on.
Would you say that every moment you spent on your arms and dieting and all the rest, that you had fun? That you enjoyed that process?
No.
Are you enjoying the results?
Yes.
Okay. Some people think they need to cut a bunch of stuff out and sacrifice everything here and now for the hereafter. And I'm not qualified to say whether that's right or wrong. I just know that for me, there are some things that aren't what we call salvation issues. So I can go out and I can drive a car with a radio in it, and I'm 99% sure my Lord and Savior is not going to send me to hell for that.
But there are things that you would. Are there things that you would refrain from specifically because you know it would hurt your chances of ascension? Or do you just stay away from those things because they're not pious things?
I think anymore I stay away from those things because they aren't good for me. You have people who are addicted to porn. They say it activates the same center of the brain that heroin does. I mean, I'm not going to judge those people, but I'm not going to partake. It's not a tick.
It's a tick.
It's not a tick. You nervous about ticks?
Yeah, they're disgusting.
They are.
So the other day, I was tending to my goats. My neighbor came up. Her name's Dana.
Your neighbor Dana.
My neighbor Dana. She came up and she was like, Sean, you seem like a smart guy with some pious friends. And I was like, yes, ma'am.
Like verbatim?
Verbatim. Verbatim. So David.
Sean.
She asked me, she said, it seems a lot of people are always wanting more in life, and they're never happy with where they are. Do you think that there's a point where they should just accept what they have and learn to be happy instead of constantly chasing more? And David, I looked this woman right in the eye and I said, bitch.
You did not.
I did.
You did. Verbatim?
Verbatim. Oh, you won't say that word, will you?
No.
I didn't think about that. That's funny.
You want to edit yourself in it? I can mouth it.
Well, I said that's why I'm here with all these goats. Because I did want more out of life. And I think that everybody grows up thinking that they can be something that isn't realistically attainable for everyone. And that there comes a time when chasing your dreams can get in the way of actually settling down or enjoying
What you have.
exactly verbatim.
Verbatim.
Yes, sir. But that's just my take on it. And as my neighbor Dana often does, she comes for advice. And I think that she wanted me to talk to my friends and hear what they had to say.
Probably exactly what she was thinking.
Yeah.
I'll go ask Sean, he can ask his friends, and we could just have
She handed me a $5 bill.
a $5 bill.
And she was like, will you ask your friends this question for me? And I looked this woman right in her eyeballs.
Right in her eyeball.
And I said, bitch.
You did not.
I did. And I took that $5 and I said, I'll go across the street to my neighbor David's house and I'll ask my neighbor Dave what he thinks about this.
And here we are, across the street
Yeah.
from your goats.
So my goats.
So your goats,
There's my horse, Charles.
equidistant from the goats.
Yeah. You gotta keep your goats and your horses separate so you don't get any donkeys.
Right.
Because once you get some donkeys, I mean, I don't even know where donkeys come from, to be honest. But I don't want a bunch of donkeys on the farm.
I understand. They're stubborn mules, I'll tell you what. I loved your advice you gave her.
Is a donkey a mule?
I have on good authority that no. I believe a mule is a cross between a horse and a donkey.
Well, then, so where does the donkey come from?
A donkey's its own thing.
Verbatim?
Verbatim.
God damn.
I think that depends on what you're wanting out of life. That's got you so driven. If you're trying to be a better person.
Buggy.
Yeah. I think that's okay to keep trying to do that.
I think that
But there's probably middle ground in there somewhere.
it was. I pictured my life living in New York City. And I pictured my
New York
life.
City.
New York City.
New York City.
Is that a barbecue sauce or salsa?
It's a salsa
Sauce.
for sure. It's paste. This stuff's made in New York City.
That you may be so focused on that, living in an apartment in Times Square and acting on Broadway.
Yeah.
The chances of you actually attaining that, especially as you get older, gets less and less realistic. Like, I want to play, in the NFL. And it's like, well, if you're 25 and you haven't made it yet,
You're probably not going to make it.
time to move on from that, which I imagine athlete-wise probably happens. But if you're talking about, well, I want to be CEO, I want to be on Broadway, I want to live this life, and you can chase it, you're missing out on, hey, maybe you could have had like a life that would have made you happy in a different way if you wouldn't have been so focused on dream chasing.
I had a friend once
You had a friend.
who used to get really mad at me for saying things like happiness is a choice.
Yeah. Sounds like a good friend.
He is a good friend. He's my best friend, actually. But I'll tell you what, Sean, I think what you're saying is happiness is the journey and not so much the destination. And I probably agree with that, too.
But what if your journey isn't making you happy? Your happiness lies in the destination.
Then you need to change your focus.
Yeah. Verbatim.
Verbatim. And what you do when you change your focus? You make a choice. That makes happiness a choice. Thank you.
I believe you trying to sucker me into agreeing with something that I don't agree with. So your advice, give up on your dreams, settle for less. From the man himself.
I believe
Pious Dave says.
my advice is don't become so obsessed with those dreams that you're going to miss out on something right here.
Solid advice.
This is basically what you just said.
Solid advice. It sounds a little better, what you said.
Oh, all right.
It's more marketable.
Oh, that's good.
Marketable.
Because this is going up on the YouTubes.
You're a highly marketable man.
You think so?
All right. Well, while I got you here, I have one more question for you. So I want you to take my pencil here and my tablet, and I need you to write down a list of 4 character traits that you think makes a good man.
Not a good grown-up, but a good man.
Let's say that you had a son.
I have a couple of those.
If there are 4 character traits that you wish that they could have, like what 4 would you want to instill in them?
Now, if I write this down with this pencil on your pad,
It'll work.
yeah?
Yep.
You gonna read them out loud or you want me to?
Well, I was hoping you would actually physically write them down.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know where this is going?
No.
Oh, okay.
You look like Caesar? What are you doing right now? Are you supposed to be Jesus?
No.
No.
Don't make me laugh.
Sorry.
You wrote to me once, listing the 4 chief virtues: integrity, honesty, loyalty, and kindness. As I read this list, I knew I had none of them. But I have other virtues, Father. Ambition. That can be a virtue when it drives us to excel. Resourcefulness, courage. Perhaps not on the battlefield, but there are many forms of courage. Devotion to my family, to you. But none of my virtues were on your list. Even then, it was as if you didn't want me as your son.
Oh, Sean, you go too far.
I searched the faces of the gods for ways to please you, to make you proud. One kind word, one full hug, where you pressed me to your chest and held me tight, would have been like the sun on my heart for 1,000 years. What in me do you hate so much?
Shh, Sean. Shh.
All I've ever wanted was to live up to you, pious Dave. Okay, come back over here.
Sean, your faults as a son are my failures as a father.
Pious Dave, I would have butchered the whole world if only you had loved me.